I'd like to call to order tonight's Hudson Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, April 12, 2011. Thank you for joining us. If you would stand as you're able and join with us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Board members, you have the agenda in front of you. If there is someone that would make a motion on the agenda.
Just want to talk about a couple changes or modifications we have in the order of the agenda. We are moving out of topics for action 7A, and it will move into reports and actually be right after the district goal high school collaboration. So right after that would be high school learning for the future implementation advisories. And then we are going to eliminate one closed session topic, and that is C, to consider layoff of specific employees.
All right. With those modifications, which are on the agendas in front of you, if someone would make the motion on the agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion for approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
I would like to make one friendly amendment to the motion, Mr. Chernohoy, if I could, which is I would like to remove the March 1st, 2011 minutes from the consent agenda and make that a separate topic for action. We will call that 7F-1.
I'll amend my motion to indicate that change.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Second by Mark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are at student and staff recognition. Sandy.
And we have quite an evening before us. I'll ask our four recipients to step forward while I give you some background. The 2011 Herb Cole Educational Foundation Fellows are chosen. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Never mind. I'm going to ask Principal Laura Love. Let's change gears. And our AP teachers that are present to step forward, please. The National College Board has placed the Hudson School District on its 2011 National Advanced Placement Achievement List. The list is composed of all districts that have simultaneously expanded advanced placement opportunities and improved performance on AP exams, which is scoring a 3 or higher out of 5. The district is one of 388 U.S. public school districts and one of 20 Wisconsin districts on the College Board's achievement list. Nationally, Wisconsin is ranked 7th as a state. The advanced placement program enables students to pursue college-level studies while still in high school. In addition to the rigor AP courses provide, students who pass their exams may apply their AP coursework toward college credits or advanced placement. Wisconsin was recently named Best in the Midwest for AP performance. So with us this evening is Laura Love, principal of Hudson High School, and some of our outstanding AP teachers who I know would want us to say as well that the students, we want to congratulate all of our outstanding teachers. This is a total K-12 effort, and that the students then, when they arrive at the advanced placement level, are again then given that extra shot of rigor and relevance that we provide. So Laura.
I just want to add that many of our great AP teachers couldn't make it tonight, but as Sandy said, I'd like to highlight that these teachers would also add that the teachers before them have prepared their kids well to begin AP at the junior year. And we're going to be adding AP courses next year and also looking to bring more options to juniors. Right now, seniors bear a heavy load with the number of AP courses they often choose to take. So we have Jill Tamman, who teaches AP English Lit, who we know is retiring. So we appreciate all of her hard work and all of the papers she grades and the feedback that she gives to her students. John Ammon, who teaches AP US History. Chuck Bublitz, who teaches AP German. and Ann White, who teaches AP Spanish, and again, many others who contributed to our AP programs as well. And if you have any specific questions or comments, I'll ask you to direct those to the teachers.
Go ahead, Mary.
I just certainly want to recognize these teachers for the work that they do with our students, and certainly our students themselves for their challenging themselves with high expectations and the level of rigor of AP. And not only have you had many students who have gone before you and have benefited from your expertise, I've looked at the incoming numbers that Laura Love has shown me for next year, and we're even continuing to expand to more students. And that really speaks to your ability to recruit students, to challenge themselves at these higher levels, and certainly those students for taking that on. It is a credit to all of our teachers that have served our students over the years and helped prepare them for the level of rigor of AP. And certainly when we look at the state of Wisconsin and our standings with the other states being so high, your work is even valued at a higher level. So thank you very much for your efforts with our students. I want to go back to Principal Ed Lucas, retired Principal Ed Lucas, who helped to promote this program and helped it expand as well.
All right. Thanks.
Just one addition. Both Jill and John, each year at the end of the year, and supported by Ed in the past as well, both of them go and score these tests nationally, which not only benefits these teachers in how to instruct in AP, but benefits our students greatly because they understand the quality that's expected at the national level. So I really appreciate the work that they do at the end of the year assessing AP exams.
So for the four that were able to join us tonight and all of your colleagues who weren't able to be here tonight, I want to thank you both on behalf of the Board of Education, but also as a parent who had a student that went through AP courses and successfully transitioned from Hudson onto college. Thank you very much. Okay, Sandy.
Should I try
now
Herb
the Herb
Cole
Cole
this time?
winners.
All right. The 2011 Herb Cole Educational Foundation Fellows are chosen for their superior ability to inspire a love of learning in their students, their ability to motivate others, and for their leadership and service within and outside the classroom. The Herb Cole Foundation was established in 1990 and has awarded 2,000 fellowships to teachers throughout Wisconsin. The foundation annually awards 100 teachers fellowship grants. Hudson is proud to announce that 4 of our outstanding teachers are this year's recipients of the Herb Cole Award. So I'm just going to ask them to step forward one by one. Kimberly Powers is our Hudson High School English Language Arts teacher. Her philosophy is demonstrated in the statement, "Whoever is doing the work is doing the learning." Kim created our current young adult literature course where she has a goal to make lifelong readers out of her students. The shelves in her room are filled with high-interest books which motivate and engage her students. Kim was selected as a participant in the Young Adults Choices Project, which is an initiative through the International Reading Association. As a result, our school district is receiving roughly 3,000 books of contemporary young adult novels over the next 3 years. Kim also serves on the High School Learning of the Future Committee, the 612 Language Arts Committee, and is a Critical Friends group leader. Congratulations to Kim. Christopher De Leon is a technology education teacher at the middle school. Chris believes it is his responsibility to make all students feel safe to learn, welcome to participate, and that their opinions will be respected. He also feels students deserve the very best he has to offer all of the time. A lifelong learner, Chris spent 3 summers attending NASA Space Camp to grow as a professional and then take that knowledge and bring it back to the classroom. Last summer, Chris received extensive training in Project Lead the Way and brought the pre-engineering curriculum to the middle school. Chris consistently goes above and beyond, as evidenced by his notable achievement last year when the team he guided achieved national recognition in NASA's Waste Limitation Management and Recycling Design Challenge. Congratulations to Chris.
Thank you.
Cynthia Landers is a middle school science teacher who has been a leader in developing outdoor learning spaces. Her 7th grade students designed and planted the 2 prairies and 5 rain gardens on the middle school grounds. She was also instrumental in the development of the district's school forest system, and last year received a $30,000 Wisconsin Environmental Education Board grant. Cindy has initiated several professional learning opportunities for district teachers, including Earth Partnership for Schools and LEAF. She also collaborated with the University of Wisconsin Stout to develop a Women in Science workshop for middle school girls. And if that's not enough, she serves as the advisor for the Middle School Young Naturalist Club and is currently enrolled in an Intel 21st Century Skills project-based learning class in collaboration with our technology coordinator and software training specialist. Congratulations to Cindy.
The way my projects were, it wasn't just me, and I wanted to make sure that I mentioned to other people. I could not have succeeded without support and collaboration from colleagues, students, parents, community members, buildings and grounds crew, and my administration. I'd especially like to mention Dan Koch, my principal. He's always supported me and on some of my wild and crazy ideas. And in our teaching profession, it's challenging and personal, and so support is critical, and I really thank the Herb Cole Foundation.
Ann Sietz is an elementary special education teacher at EP Rock Elementary. In her application, Ann shared 5 lifelong learning lessons she has learned in her over 36-year teaching career. 1, self-esteem is the key factor in improving student behavior and achievement. 2, instill hope and empowerment in the fascinating minds of all learners. 3, lessons, and more importantly, instructional techniques must be designed on brain-based principles. 4, it takes the support of a collaborative learning community for all children to succeed. And 5, intervene early, before children fall behind and develop poor self-esteem. Early in her career, Ann and her husband were instrumental in bringing Special Olympics to Hudson. She was also a leader in the collaborative special ed and regular ed initiative called the Transdisciplinary Team Approach, which was acknowledged by the state as an exemplary program. One of Ann's best-known achievements is the Stand By Me mentorship program at EP Rock Elementary, a privately funded school-based mentoring program which matches students with community members and has been in place for over a decade. Congratulations to Ann.
Thank you. I really want everyone to know that it's kind of an emotional time for me, but the educational care that I've experienced serving the children here in Hudson truly exemplifies what the word fellowship means. The support that we get in our schools from our parents and our community is just extraordinary. And it's because of that support that our children, all of our students, are able to soar at heights that I didn't even imagine possible when I first started out in teaching. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Chris or Kim, you didn't get a chance to speak. I don't know if you wanted to. Just checking. Thank you all.
All right. Next.
Sandy, before you go on, I just want to say the pride that Sandy and I had with their principals and their families on Sunday when we attended the Herb Cole celebration for these 4 educators. They exemplify the best in education, and certainly they represent the quality of our teaching staff.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to ask Jillian Beaupre to come forward, please. Jillian is an 8th grader at Hudson Middle School, and Jillian took part in the Badger Spelling Bee, and on Wednesday, February 16, 36 young spellers faced off at CISA Regional Badger Spelling Bees ours took place in Woodville. So we first had a competition at Hudson Middle School. She was the winner there, went on to regionals, took 2nd place at regionals, and 1st and 2nd place get to go on to state. And at state, I understand you were in the top half at the state level as well. So we want to congratulate Jillian tonight. Jillian, will you pull that mic down a little bit? I know I'm not sure. Will you tell us a little bit, though, because I watched this happen because I was at the competition at the middle school. Talk about all of the practicing you did, what you did to practice for the spelling bee.
I went through a lot of practicing, and I couldn't have done it without my parents and all my teachers and my friends. They supported me a lot.
Yes. And can you tell us what was your final word at the competition?
In the state?
Yeah. Do you remember? That's okay. I was just going to remember it.
It was Russian.
It was Russian? And you didn't know Russian? All right. But I know her friends, her family, the teachers at Hudson Middle School, the administration, the district, we all want to congratulate you for your high achievement. Thank you so much.
And Jillian, don't go anywhere.
And while Barb's getting back in place, we also wanted to mention, too, that we had one Herb Cole Student Award winner as well. Devin Ducharme also earned a Herb Cole Award as a student scholar.
Sandy, it looks like the final thing in student staff recognition is winter athletics.
Yes, and this one I pretty much get to introduce Stephanie DeVos, our athletic director, and she will in turn take the lead on sharing the exciting news of our winter athletics.
Representing athletics, I'm very proud to introduce to you Ben Peters. Ben is our student athletic ambassador, so I'm going to turn it over to Ben. Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's that time of the season again. We have our winter update. First I'd like to introduce Ashley Fall, who was one of the captains of the girls basketball team, and they were coached by Mr. Johnson, who led them to a very successful season. So I'll turn it over to Ashley Fall right now. Thank you.
I'm Ashley Fall. The 2010 to 2011 girls basketball season was a start to a new program. We had brand new coaches, including, of course, Coach Ed Johnson, that has helped change this program around. Throughout the season, the girls showed great effort, great teamwork, and great self-determination to get better as a team. The girls not only put forth great effort on the basketball court, but also in the classroom. We had 6 girls earning academic all-conference, which is having a 3.5 GPA as a junior and senior. The team won the most games since 2005 season and won a playoff game for the first time since 2005 in triple overtime.
The girls' basketball program did a wonderful job representing Hudson High School and the Hudson community. We were also third for sportsmanship in the conference. Thank you.
I'd also like to mention that there were some all-conference and honorable mention. All-conference second team representative was senior Alexa Bellinger. All-conference honorable mention representatives were Jesse Kirkwood and Kendra Wittes, correct? Yep. Next, we have Matt Cryer, David Branson, and Aaron Schrader from the boys basketball team. They were coached by Mr. Swavely this year, and they also had a very good season. Here they are.
Hi, my name is Matt Cryer, and I'm going to start things off here. Our season showed a lot of progress. We won more games this year than we did last year. And in addition to that, a lot of our players showed a lot of individual progress. We tried our best to challenge ourselves, not only in the gymnasium, but also in the classroom, and we strive to be the best we can be in both those areas. And one thing that was pretty unique about our team is we fought hard in every single game that we participated in, even though our record might not show that at the end of the year. But we were all pretty proud of the way we played.
I was going to say we had a lot of diversity on our team. We had freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors that all contributed to our team, which I thought was pretty cool because we hadn't played with each other before.
And we had a really great group of guys, like Matt said. Even though we didn't have the greatest season wins and losses wise, everybody works hard in the classroom and contributes to the high school. And everybody on the team, I don't think there's a bad kid among us. We're all good guys. And I just want to thank the coaches, even though they're not here, and all the fans for coming out and supporting us. It meant a lot. And yeah, that's our season.
Thank you, guys. I'd also like to mention their conference awards. We had all-conference second team, Matt Cryer. And then we also had an all-conference honorable mention, Alex Herink. He was a freshman. So look forward to watching him as years go on. Next, we have the cheerleading, who had an amazing season. They were coached by Mrs. Robley. And we have Cassie Mazinski and Camden Drapo to talk about their season.
Well, my name's Camden Drapo, and this is Cassie. So this year, the Hudson cheer and stunt proudly cheered at varsity and JV football games, boys and girls varsity basketball games, wrestling meets and tournaments. At the UW Eau Claire Spirit and Fired Up Championship, our JV competition squad took first place in the JV routine. Our varsity co-ed competition took first in various competitions in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We placed first at regionals in Wisconsin, which is the first time as co-ed. And we placed fourth at state in Green Bay. And this year we had two stunt groups. One participated of an all-girl stunt group who placed third, and one co-ed stunt group which placed third also. And
we were also very well in our academics, like the other teams. Sometimes after practices, before games, we'd all meet in Coach Robley's room, especially during finals, and we ordered pizza, and we helped study. Everyone was a part of that, so we did well.
That's good.
I'd also like to mention Camden you were a part of the co-ed that he did very well with his stunt, and if you guys ever get a chance to watch them compete, it's truly amazing. Next, we have the gymnastics team, coached by Kelly Duffner and Mrs. Dado. We have Sarah Monette, Amanda Baker, and Devin Ducharme that will give you some highlights of the season.
Okay, we also all had new coaches, and we started out the season with a 119 and ended the season at a 132, which is a difference of 12 points, and that's kind of a big deal. We only had one defeat in our dual meets, and we got second in conference.
We also had Baker qualify for state in all around, and she was also first team all conference. And Oh, and Toria Farrow was all-conference honorable mention.
Yeah, we were pretty proud because Amanda Baker, she didn't only qualify for state for one event, she qualified for all around. So she was one of the top 5 individuals that the top 2 teams will go to state, and then the top 5 individuals, and she did a great job, and we were really proud that she led her team in such a positive manner. So.
Thank you, girls. Next, we have the update for the floor hockey team. Nobody is here to represent them, so I'm just going to go ahead and read off how they did. They're coached by Rick Schultz, and here's what he had to say. Our floor hockey season this year got off with a great start. We won our first 2 games and picked up a few more wins as the season progressed. Our team was deep with experience with 6 seniors and 3 juniors. Many of the more experienced players have played this sport for the past 6 years. We once again combined with the kids from Ellsworth and had a total of 14 players on the team. We were able to gain some sound advice from our 2 managers, as they have both played and helped manage the team for 9 years each. As the season progressed, almost everyone was able to either score a goal or add an assist to the scoring player, which made for a very special season. In looking back at our season, several players remarked, 2 of the most memorable games this season were when we played St. Paul and South Suburban. These games were fun to play in because we scored a lot of goals, and in the games, several team members scored goals. One of the best events of the season was when we played Winona. Even though we lost the game, it was a lot of fun because we got to ride a coach bus, and some of us have never done that before. One of the things that I like about floor hockey is that everyone helps, and it is fun to travel and play other teams. The best advice the coaches gave us was to hustle and keep our eye on the puck. We would like to encourage other kids to play floor hockey. Even though it is a lot of hard work, we think it is fun, and we think that they would enjoy it also. So they had a great season, and let's give a round of applause for them.
I would just like to take this opportunity, to thank Rick Schultz. Rick is retiring at the end of this year, and he will be missed dearly. He's done this for many, many years. The kids love him, and if you could see the interaction between him and those kids, it's amazing. So thanks, Rick, for all you've done.
Next, we have the girls' hockey. We do not have any representatives here. They were coached by Mr. Dietrich. I do have a few results from them. They had an all-conference second-team representative, Alex Willie, and as well as all-conference honorable mention, Sydney Squires. I don't have any specific stats and everything, but they had a great season as usual. Our girls' hockey team does pretty well. So, next, we have the boys' hockey team, coached by Mr. Stoskoff. And we have Stephen Berkey to talk about it.
Hi, my name is Stephen Berkey, and I'd like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you this evening about the boys hockey varsity that placed second in conference under Eau Claire Memorial, who was actually ranked number 1 in the state. I would just like to recap a few highlights from the season. The past year we had a little fewer players than normal, which allowed us to bond together for a stronger team. We did more activities off the ice than the previous year, which led to friendships and success on the ice. Last year we brought in 3 new assistant coaches, Mark Baraboo, Lance Wendland, and Kelly Wendland. All 3 of them were very positive on the ice. Whenever we were slacking in drill, they would always encourage us to work harder. And during the mini games and scrimmages and the practices, the coaches would play, and the 2 brothers were very, very competitive. At the end of practice, we would condition, and I think this is where the 3 assistant coaches pushed us the hardest. They also had different personalities and coaching styles, which helped our team become more cohesive. And I believe that the part of our success in our playoff win against River Falls has to go to our dedicated fans. I don't think people realize how much of a difference it makes having support behind the glass. The dedication really came through when we had our second playoff game in Superior. I think the Hudson crowd was almost bigger than Superior's. To take a fan bus up to Superior on a Tuesday night really showed that they were behind us and supported the team. Even though we lost the game, having all the fans wait for us in the lobby after the game really helped out with our loss, and again, just showed greater pride. I would like to end by thanking the coaches for their leadership and support for the players. They always reminded us that schoolwork came before hockey. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. I'd just like to say many of the people who rode that fan bus up to Superior, we were all, actually the majority of us here, were all up there, and it was a great time. And we had several conversations with a lot of those guys, and they were quite jealous of the Hudson cheering crowd. So we got to thank our bleacher creatures and just overall Raider sportsmanship and Raider pride. Yeah, give another hand up. Next, we have the Raiders, who I had the privilege to serve as manager this year. They are coached by Amanda Fletcher and Kim Hoff. We have Caitlin and Kim Workman to talk about their season.
I'm Kim. And I'm Caitlin. And the 2011 Hudson Raiders dance team had another successful season. The team performed at boys and girls home basketball games, Pep Fest, and numerous competitions. We did well at all of our competitions, but we did best at conference, where we were named conference champs for the 3rd year in a row.
We also traveled to La Crosse, Wisconsin for our state competition, where we took 3rd in Division I Jazz. The team will graduate with 6 seniors, Briquel Balf, Kayla Java, Candace Phillips, Ashley Schroeder, Erica Wiggs, and myself. We had a really good year.
Thank you, girls. What they did leave out is they also competed at nationals, and what were the results there again? So extremely well for a national event, and there were also 4 girls that were named to the All-State. What's the title for it? Yeah, just All-State. There was Corinne Arend, Danny Inman, Candace Phillips, and Briquel Bolf. Yep. So we had a very strong contingent of Hudson Raiders on that. So congrats to them again. Next, we have the boys swimming and diving. I don't believe we have any representatives from there, so I'll just read a few things. They are coached by Mr. Smolinski and assisted by Katie Zappa. The 2010-11 boys swimming and dive team achieved the sectional runner-up place, and they were the head of the Lakes Invitational champions. They placed third at the Simile Invitational and 3rd place at the Husky Invitational. They had an all-conference second-team representative, Lucas Rukavina, 200-yard freestyle and 500-yard freestyle. And they also had all-conference honorable mentions, Gabe Dwyer for 1-meter diving, Charlie Skinner for the 100-yard butterfly, Luke Westerbarth, Winter Jorgensen, Lucas Rukavina, Charlie Skinner for the 400-yard freestyle relay. They had a great season, and there's a lot of returning members, so look for them in the future. Last but certainly not least, we have the boys wrestling team, who had an amazing and historic season, and we have Nick Larson and Gordon Johnson to lead you through their season.
Hi. Yeah, it was definitely a great season, probably the best season in Hudson wrestling history. We were able to win our 6th straight conference championship. We were regional champs, sectional champs for the first time ever. We beat the number 2 ranked team in state to qualify for team state. We then won another match down at team state, and that sent us to the Final Four, where we lost to the eventual state champs. So that was awesome. We also had 3 individual state qualifiers, myself, who placed 4th, and Gordon Johnson right here, and Tanner Owens. I was able to set the record for wins in Hudson wrestling history with 157, and Gordon tied for 2nd in school history with 142 with Kyle Crane, who graduated last year. So it was a good season.
Wrestling's a journey, and it was really one of the most memorable years of all of our lives, I think, on the team, and it's really going to teach us a lot of life lessons. Our coaches were great, our fans are great, and our parents are great too. It would have been tough to get through the season without them supporting us all the way through, so thank you guys.
If you guys have never had the opportunity to go watch one of their wrestling matches or meets, I highly suggest you do so. We are losing some amazing seniors, but we have a lot of kids coming up, and the wrestling program in Hudson is just truly amazing. I'd like to mention some of the first team all-conference. We had Kolya Hoxford, Gordon Johnson, Nick Larson, and Tanner Owens. For second team representatives, we had Dima Hoxford, Austin Koski, Nick Nelson, Derek Schindler, and Ryan Smith. Then also all-conference honorable mention, we had Alex Walden and Will Yang. That about sums it up for our winter sports. I would also like to add in a little information about Athletes Making Progress and the Raider Council. The Hudson Raiders have made the names for themselves through hard work, determination, superior coaching and administration, and passion. Every year, Raider sports teams are a force to be reckoned with within the Big Rivers Conference, and this is not by chance. We have been blessed to have an incredibly supportive community comprised of booster clubs, passionate parents, top-notch athletic department, and several leadership communities. Many sports communities can lay claim to booster clubs, parents, and athletic departments, but not many have groups such as Athletes Making Progress and the Raider Council. Athletes Making Progress, aka AMP, is a student-athlete leadership group. We believe that it is our responsibility as Athletes Making Progress to connect Hudson athletes to the community, as well as motivate and support athletes by improving the cohesiveness of the athletic body, creating one coherent unit. We are very excited to now be working with the Raider Council, whose purpose is to support and enhance the athletic experience for all our athletes. Together, the potential for good deeds is limitless. We are currently working together to promote and define Raider pride and sportsmanship, which will have positive effects on our athletes, parents, coaches, and the entire community. Just kind of to recognize our work for sportsmanship and Raider pride. In the first time in Hudson history, we just got our Big Rivers Conference Sportsmanship Awards for this year, and we had 4 of our winter sports teams make it into the top 3 for sportsmanship. We had girls basketball, which Ashley mentioned, were number 3 in sportsmanship. We had gymnastics, which was number 2 in sportsmanship in the conference. Boys hockey, which was tied for 3rd with River Falls. And then we also had girls hockey, who was number 1 in sportsmanship in the conference. We look forward to a successful relationship between AMP and Raider Council, and you will most certainly see the effects of our work very soon. I'd like to also mention the members of AMP who are here: Devin Ducharme, Camden Drapo, and me. So, thank you very much, and thank you for listening to all our great athletes, and we look forward to talking to you again in the spring.
Good job.
Thank you.
Mary, we now have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Barb. You know, what a way to start a board meeting with talented educators and talented students. Certainly it's hard for us to work beyond that, but it's what we do to support their efforts and their achievement. So we're very fortunate to have the level of talent throughout the district. As far as the April election, congratulations certainly go to incumbent Dan Chernohoy, who received 2,711 votes, and then to incumbent Lynn Robson, who received 2,668 votes. So both incumbents have been re-elected for a 3-year term on the Board of Education, and we appreciate certainly your service and wanting to continue making very important decisions that affect our students and our staff in this community.
Mary, can I just jump in here? Thank you for that, and I also want to thank members of the community for their support of my candidacy. I know I've been serving a few years, but I really do truly enjoy working with the board, working with the students, working with the administration, and all of the members in the community. So thank you. I appreciate the support.
And Lynn, would you like to also
I'd like
say
to
a few
echo
words?
what Dan said. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your votes. I look forward to serving for another 3 years and it's going to be some challenging times, but the end result is really important, and that's why we're here. So thank you.
I would also like to thank Jim Kubiak for his interest. He ran as well for election, but his interest in the Hudson School District and the Board of Education work. Today, a number of our administrators presented again at an Aspiring Administrator Workshop. The Association of Wisconsin School Administrators puts on workshops for aspiring administrators, and these are individuals who are looking at the possibility of becoming administrators in the future. And Hudson continues to be asked to present, and it recognizes the level and quality of our administrators in the district. Today, Dan Koch, Laura Love, Ann Mitchell, Jim DeLune, and Peg Shoemaker represented the district at this workshop and presented an opening session and also roundtable discussions with those participants. They talked about the practical day-to-day realities of administration and the tasks of successful school administrators. And I'm sure, knowing those individuals, they also talked about the leadership that's really necessary to lead and to serve our students and to focus on student learning. I would also recognize Kevin Moore, Dean of Students at the high school, who was part of a panel reflecting on his first year. And we applaud the efforts of our administrators to share their expertise and their experience with others in the field. So moving on to talk about now the makeup for school closure on March 23rd. March 23rd was an inclement weather day. And so school was closed, and as a result of that, at the middle school and the high school, we need to make up some instructional time to meet the requirements by the state. And so that's only at middle school and high school and not at the elementary level. So to do that, on June 10th, which was originally scheduled as the teacher checkout day, we will now be doing the following. At elementary, there will be no school for students, but there will be a teacher professional development day. Then at the middle school, students will be dismissed at 10:45. At the high school, students will attend and be dismissed at 11 o'clock. And then middle school and high school teachers will work for the remainder of the day on grading and professional development. June 13th, Monday, it has now become the teacher checkout day. So those are the accommodations we've made for that inclement weather. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mary. Are there questions for any of the items Mary highlighted? Hearing none, we will move to the report section of the agenda. The first item in that section is financial literacy. Sandy.
As my team steps forward, I will begin with our presentation this evening. Diane, you can already go to the next slide. Financial literacy is tightly linked to Hudson School District Strategic Plan, HSD 2025. The Graduate Learner Outcome Life Skills includes personal finance, and many components of financial literacy can also be found in entrepreneurial learning. You will hopefully see tonight as well that there's a connection to our vision, which includes specifically critical thinking. We want to share this evening the various programs and opportunities offered district students associated with financial literacy. And here to assist me this evening is Bruce Hansen, who is our Junior Achievement Board Chair and a Junior Achievement Volunteer, Joanne Kachek, who is also on our Junior Achievement Board and a JA Volunteer, Melissa Hansen, our School to Career Coordinator, and Jim Wookie, who is the Vice President of the Hudson, Wisconsin Credit Union. Next slide, Diane. The first area we'll address is Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is a powerful school, parent, and community partnership. Hudson is a unique district in the depth of our implementation. Every K-6 student, both public and private, participates in Junior Achievement. Learning Services coordinates the volunteers and necessary materials, and the Junior Achievement Board, comprised of various district and community members, oversees the various fundraising and grant writing activities needed to support the program. Junior Achievement has been active in Hudson for over 10 years. Next, please.
Just to talk a little bit about the timing of it, actually, Junior Achievement started in 1992, so we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary, which is really significant considering the students that actually get a chance to see this from the kindergarten level all the way on through. So when you look at the funds that are generated to support Junior Achievement locally, we actually have a number of different sources. We have different clubs that support the program. Some businesses, local businesses in town, we go out to foundations, and this last year we've actually started to work with a lot of the parent groups to get additional support to not only continue the program, but this next year we're hoping to expand the program. The volunteers for Junior Achievement, as Sandy mentioned, really, you look at the parents, they get very involved in the classrooms. It's always exciting to see. As a parent, for a second grader at Holton, it's been a lot of fun to get involved within the school, and I think a lot of parents enjoy that. So the kindergarten level and first grade, second grade, we'll just kind of walk through these briefly, but it really kind of walks you through the progression, right? So you learn about yourselves, you then take it on to learn about your family. And each of those, when you're a kindergarten, you're learning about earning and saving money, some pretty important things. Typically, you're trying to make sure that they know money doesn't grow on a tree. At the first grade level, you're learning about the roles, the needs, the wants, and then at the second grade level, you start to expand it out. You learn about the community, and you explore about the interdependent roles of the workers within the community. Next slide, please. As you continue to expand, you learn a little bit more about the city, the region, and then the nation. Within the fifth grade class, which I've had the privilege to work with the past couple of years, the students get to learn not just about the nation and how businesses work and operate, and a lot of the large businesses that help our communities thrive, but you start to understand a little bit more about how we work internationally as well. So it's very exciting to see their brains kick into overdrive and come up with some pretty unique ideas. Next slide. Just to talk a little bit about the impact. We added a few of these slides because I think it's important for us to see a little bit how JA students in this community and what they receive versus other communities that aren't as fortunate to have Junior Achievement. If you look at statistics, the second bullet point there talks about how the JA programs demonstrate significantly higher critical thinking and problem solving than students that don't have the ability to go through the program. So the statistics speak for themselves, and I think it's very fortunate that every student in the K through 5 classrooms get a chance to interact with these programs. Next slide.
I almost have to celebrate the anniversary because I think I've been doing JA now for 13 years in the district. So done it starting in grade school up through middle school and high school. So once we get to the junior high, middle school, and high school level, we really start concentrating more on career exploration within Junior Achievement. Also the personal finance aspect, running a household, that kind of thing. And also business management and decision making. So that becomes some of our main emphasis when we get to that middle school and high school level. Sixth grade BizTown is really, as the pictures really don't do it justice, it really is a simulated town that's set up within a large warehouse. So the students actually feel like they're going to work when they do JA BizTown. So it starts with in-class preparation at the middle school, the sixth grade level. They learn about the different careers that are available in BizTown, and then some of them like run for mayor and things like that. So it gets to be quite an experience for the students. And then they spend one whole day at BizTown acting in the role that they're given. So, for example, one might be the mayor of the town, another one might be the banker in town. things like that. So they actually get actual business experience there at BizTown. Next slide, please. At the 8th grade level, we've done a couple different things over the years. We have, in the past, worked with Global Marketplace, too, kind of building on what we're doing in the 5th grade, starting to expose the students to international business. At the 8th grade level, we did Global Marketplace for quite a few years at the 8th grade level with the business ed classes, and really looked at how goods are produced and where they come from, and how we all are tied together in this global economy now. So that was always kind of a neat section. The last couple years, we did switch to 8th grade JA Finance Park, and we're actually doing it online. So it's a totally online simulation. The students are given a life situation, so they're given a job with a salary, a family situation when they might be married but 2 kids, with a stay-at-home wife, those kind of things, or might be single with 1 child. So they're given actual simulations of what it would be like to have to run a household based on the job they have and the money, the income that they're producing. It's kind of fun because as they go through the online simulation, they're kind of throwing curveballs. So just like we are in life when we're trying to manage our household budgets, they get thrown a curveball that, their car broke down and now they have to find money for a car repair, or they happen to win maybe a local prize at a raffle or something, so they get an extra $100. So it's kind of fun to see the kids be thrown these curveballs and then include them in their planning. So the next slide, please. So as you can tell, too, there's quite an impact on the students from the beginning to the end with the simulations. I think one of the powerful things the students really recognize is that there's a definite connection between post-secondary education and their earnings. So as they see what other kids, what they got for jobs and the kind of money they're making, they're all comparing notes. So I think that makes a really strong connection with that. The pre and post test shows, too, as you can see on the graph, that they do gain knowledge about the economy, about personal finances and how they can run a household. So I think those are all great accomplishments for them to see that they can actually work through a budget. Next slide, please. High School JA Titan is a program that we started a couple years ago in the marketing program at the high school with Amy Emerson. That is also a web-based simulation where the students actually operate a virtual company. And one of the highlights of that is that the students gain that real-world understanding of how it is to run a business and also to make those decisions that you need to make in business, about products and pricing. And they really get an understanding of how the decisions they make really do affect the bottom line for a business. So again, some real practical hands-on knowledge there. And the students really enjoy that as well. Next slide, please. So again, you can see some more outcomes with the high school level. We're hoping to infuse more of the JA programs into the high school curriculum as well, and so we're working with Melissa on maybe ways to do that. But we think it really instills the need and desire for those students to remain in high school. They're seeing a real connection between being successful in high school and how that can spill over into the post-secondary education, again, with some of these jobs that they're taking on in their simulations. And I think one of the things, and it's, in our HSED 2025, is that gives them that confidence to make those business decisions that they know will have an effect on their business when they actually get out and get out in the real world. So great programs we have at the secondary level as well.
Yeah, I'll just make one more comment on the programs that were in the exploratory phase 4. As we hit every student in the K through 5 groups, we're also exploring right now to see if there's an opportunity to actually get to every student in the 9 through 12 grade classes. And we would hit those with careers with a purpose, personal finance, success skills, and business ethics for the respective courses there. So we're excited to continue that exploration.
Last spring in April, we were excited to host our first Raider Reality Store event. In essence, it is an extension of the JA Finance Park the students can participate in 8th grade, but it brings to life the scenarios that the students are presented with. It is a program that's designed to demonstrate the need for money management skills similar to the JA activities, provide an opportunity for students to connect with the business community leaders, and then to allow them to exercise budgeting skills. So next slide, please. Similar again to Finance Park, the students are given a life scenario and move from booth to booth, paying for fixed and variable expenses that they may encounter throughout the course of a month. Students must balance their checkbook, and after paying for all of their expenses, have a positive balance in their account in order to exit the store. Each booth is represented by volunteers from our business community and school. Last year we had over 40 members, and this year we'll have about the same from our chamber, Rotary, Kiwanis, from our school, and from independent business volunteers as well. And we also have a few parents too who are choosing to volunteer this year. Last year we had approximately 160 students attend the event. They were students who participated or were a part of our diversified occupations course, personal finance, at-risk, and special education populations. We will be targeting the similar population this year and have approximately 180 to 200 students. Our goal is to continue our alignment with HSD 2025 and move the event forward so that we are able to have all students participate at the high school level. And I would like to take just a quick opportunity to thank those who do volunteer for the event. It takes commitment from those individuals. We truly appreciate and respect their time and willingness to participate. And I certainly would like to invite all of you to participate in or attend our event, which is going to be next Thursday, April 21st from 7:30 until noon at the high school. Last year in May, we opened a branch of Wisconsin Credit Union at the high school. The purpose of seeking the partnership with a financial institution was to increase the financial literacy of our students to assist us in working toward our graduate learner outcomes. The partnership is intended to provide a multidisciplinary approach to serve all students. Proposals were sent to all financials within the boundaries of the school district, and Wisconsin was the sole financial to submit a proposal. If anyone would like further information, it is on the district website. That RFP is located there. As part of that proposal, we required that the financial look at student opportunities for employment within our youth apprenticeship program. We requested that the financial coordinate with this program and offer the opportunity. The first year we had one student who the credit union did hire, and this year we had 2. The students work towards skills set forth in the youth apprenticeship curriculum and are assigned a mentor to assure that those skills are targeted and worked toward. In addition, the student tellers work at the branch in the high school as well as within the community. At the end of their experience and upon completion of the skills checklist, the students do receive a state skills certificate from the Department of Workforce Development.
At Wisconsin Credit Union, our goal and purpose is to promote financial literacy directly to the student. Wisconsin Credit Union's company mission is to help our members achieve financial success, and that starts at a very young age. Our high school branch is not a money-making venture. It is rather a way for us to give back to the community and to teach smart money management. This is a recent lunch and learn that we did at the high school, some of the many activities that we do. We introduced a wide variety of career options in the financial services field. We plan to do more of these lunch and learns with a variety of other topics, including money management, career skills, that type of thing. Another activity that we do in the personal finance class is a game that we developed called Budget or Bust. And very similar to what we've described earlier. It's essentially a board game, and the student is given a career with a salary, possibly a family with kids. They're given a housing expense, whether it be rent or a mortgage, and a car, and they could possibly have a car payment. And they're also given a checkbook and a first paycheck, and it's their responsibility to keep that checkbook in the positive as the board game goes on. They're expected to keep their checkbook balance throughout the game, and they experience life situations as the game does go on. If they go negative in their checkbook 3 times, they basically have gone bust. So it's a fun game, but it really does teach some real life experiences and how they can all be thrown at us at some times. So it's a great game, and it does teach the kids a lot about budgeting. So thank you.
Tonight you've heard several outstanding programs to make sure that our students in Hudson do have financial literacy. But it's not enough. This board, the Junior Achievement Board, along with Melissa and Jim, are looking for more ways to ensure that all students, K through 12, have that financial literacy instruction. And as mentioned, some of the courses that we're examining currently are listed there. Those are actually live links so that if someone wants to go in and take a look at those programs, they're right there for you. We thank you for the opportunity to share this with you this evening and take questions or comments.
Other questions? Dan?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Very good and exciting program. You know, financial literacy is, to me, a very tangible skill to learn. And when I think back about, you know, my high school, college, and even graduate level, not one stage did I learn some of these skills. So I had to learn mostly through trial and mostly error to, you know, figure it all out. So, you know, I applaud this work, and I'm really glad that, you know, we've taken this and really gone with it in the Hudson School District. So thank you.
Madam President, I just want to thank you guys for all your work, and I especially like the collaboration between the parent groups and the community members, and I really appreciate that link that you're creating. I think it's a really strong collaboration and partnership, and that's really nice to see, and it's another great example of how we're providing another learning opportunity for our students, so thank you.
Pat.
I would like to thank you also, and it's good to see that my last ones are in high school now, and they never even knew how to do a checkbook. So I'm glad that, and you got a game, and can you sell this game to families? Can we buy this? Sounds fun, so thank you.
Thank you all. The next item on our agenda is review at the high school collaboration and schedule. Mary?
I'll invite high school principal Laura Love to come up and talk about this progress that has been made at the high school. And if you'll remember that part of our district goals are to advance at each level teacher and administrator collaboration for student learning. And so Laura, along with her staff, has been working on finding and identifying a regular time that they could collaborate. We also call it a collaborative inquiry, so that they can focus on learning, focus on best practices, and continue to advance improvement at the high school. Laura?
We took a couple of options to the teachers. As you may know, the schedule at the high school is much more challenging to be able to get all of our teachers on the same teams together on a regular basis. So what we did was we looked at lengthening our school day by about 7 minutes, and then that would allow us the additional face-to-face time needed in order to start late once a week for an hour. And during that time, first of all, we would not change transportation, so our freshmen and sophomores and others who ride the bus would come in at their normal time on the bus. No real change to the schedule for families. Our transportation at the end of the day is still doable, extending our day by 7 minutes. But during that time, that 1 hour every week, teachers would be working on developing common assessments in their courses, in their course teams, examining student data at the classroom level, the district level, the state level, and even national level when we look at AP data, and then also developing best practices to share across teams. So for example, if we have a team of English teachers They can regularly get together, look at not just their final assessments being common, but then breaking that down to units being common, and then examining how each of their groups of students perform on that assessment. And then if somebody's students performed better, then they can start talking about why did your students perform better and mine did not, and sharing those ideas with each other. So we will be going through training on use of protocols and teaming in August, and then teachers would be using that time on a weekly basis to begin the teaming process and sharing their information across each other. Just a snippet on that. Ed Lucas a few years ago was able to provide team time for our biology teachers, for example. They asked for it because they had attended a workshop out east and came back all excited about how they could share ideas with each other if they had time together. And one example of their work this year, for example, that all biology students first semester passed biology. And that was the result of them all being on the same page and talking about student data on a regular basis and how to do better. They didn't achieve that in 1 year. They used that team time that was given to them a couple years ago every single day, and over a 3-year period were able to achieve success for every student in biology first semester, which is truly amazing. Biology doesn't come easy to all students, and to get a whole group of sophomores to pass was an extreme success. And they were notified today by the Wisconsin Association of Supervision and Curriculum Development that they would like to have them present at their conference in the fall. They were also recognized by the work of Doug Reeves, who is nationally and internationally renowned for student data and discussions about student data improving achievement. So that's why we would like to have time for collaborative inquiry. I know it's been an initiative of yours, and we were able to work with the teachers to develop a schedule for next year to do that once a week.
So I'll open it up for questions in just a minute, but I thought it would be helpful to know that Principal Love shared this with the Learning and Program Development Committee last week. And the committee, after having some conversation with her about this, really endorsed this program, recognizing the value of collaboration for the teachers in our schools. So are there questions? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want me to stay up for the next agenda?
All right. We are moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is High School Learning for the Future implementation. The topic specifically around advisories, and Mary will start that.
And again, this is a district goal, talking about moving forward High School of the Future recommendations that you received last year after a year of study by a team of educators in the district. We're moving forward to an implementation plan, and Laura's going to start that this evening, reporting to you about the progress, and then over the next 2 board meetings, May and June, the team will be coming back with more specific recommendations for that implementation process. So tonight, just to break it up a little, she's going to talk about advisories, which you had a little introduction last year, and just remind you of that. And the schedule interacts with the collaboration schedule, so we thought it was a good time to talk about advisories now, or to at least bring that forward as far as the schedule component. Laura?
4 teams have been working, and the teams include parents, community members, students, and staff members. And the High School Learning for the Future advisory study team is probably the furthest along, but had the biggest hurdle to overcome, and that was, where do we fit this in the schedule? So the team has presented to staff about 3 weeks ago and received feedback from our staff. And the schedule that we would like to consider is one where after first and second period, students in the freshman class, upcoming freshman class, would report to an advisory time. During that time, there will be a teacher who will connect with that advisory group, and we would have student leaders running some of the curriculum that is done during that time. Lots of relationship building and academic success for the freshmen built into the advisory program. And then the other 3/4 of the staff would be providing academic support to sophomores through seniors during about a 25-minute period. We would start the day at 7:30 and end the day as we would every day at 2:43. Again, 7 minutes longer than we are currently doing. Actually, I think that's 8 minutes longer. But the advisory team would like to bring that to you next month because there's a lot more work to it and a lot more for you to digest with advisories, and they have more work to do before that's brought before you. Giving you just an insight into some of the challenges that we face in bringing high school learning for the future forward. Schedule is one piece that is critical to overcome first, and that's why the schedule is being presented to you tonight.
Laura, doesn't this also interact with the graduation requirements that the board will consider later?
Yes. On the graduation requirements previously, you had freshman year initiative, or formerly known as FYI. FYI will be replaced by freshman advisories, so there is a curriculum in place. It's 25 minutes, 4 days a week, all year long, and so students would be earning credit for this. It may be down the road that we look at other initiatives during this time, like a senior project for project-based learning, and that may be coming forth to you, but this year it would impact next year's 8th graders will be the first group impacted by the change in graduation requirements. What it would be is FYI is changing over to 9th grade advisory, and that will be their quarter credit in the 23 and a quarter credits expected for graduation.
Okay, are there questions for Principal Love on the advisories?
I had one.
Go ahead, Mark.
Madam President, thank you. Laura, you said that for the freshmen, their advisory period would be 25 minutes, is that?
That's correct. 25 minutes daily, 4 days a week.
Okay, and then because the one I'm looking at here, is this then for the sophomores through seniors, a 48-minute period? Is that, or am I?
48 minutes is the class period, and then the advisory time, and it says, quote, office hours. That's the academic support time for sophomores through seniors. So it'll be 25 minutes, 4 days a week, but the freshmen would be assigned to advisories during that time.
Okay, I get it. If I'd read it a little closer, I'd say thank you.
No problem.
I have 2 questions, Laura. The first one is, so it rolls out for the freshmen, but then advisory continues with the students as they age through the high school, correct? So they would not stop having advisory at the end of their freshman year.
Right.
It would continue on with this group of freshmen through their high school career, correct?
That's correct. The curriculum would change with each year, but advisory, so the next year will be the first year with freshmen. The following year, freshmen and sophomores would all have advisories. The following year, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and so on. And it would really change from really a kind of a guiding role from the teacher and older student mentors leading the students to a coaching approach, helping students figure out kind of career pathways, potentially what small learning community they would enter into, this type of senior project that they would want to perform or study and present to a panel. So it would change, the teacher's role would change quite a bit over the 4 years, but we would have, eventually all students would have advisory, and they would stay with that same teacher for 4 years.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the 2011-12 preliminary budget. Tim.
Thank you. I've got just a few notes as I introduce the overview. Some different facts that as we look at our budget overall and look at our reductions, just to keep in mind. Hudson, we are in the lower 11% of spending statewide, and this is DPI data as of 2008, 2009. opened this building here, Rivercrest, in 2008, and we did not go for an override levy. That's something that most districts do when they add roofs to their facility. They not only have a referendum for building, but they also have a referendum to operate, and that was something that we did, was to readjust our budget and reallocate through a process to really absorb the operating costs of this facility into our budget. We continue to under levy as we have for several years. The most recent 2010 levy was about $8.9 million under levy. And I believe we were second only to Madison Metropolitan School District, so one of the largest school districts in the state. In 08-09, our under levy made up 23.6% of all under levies in the state. That's pretty significant when you look at that. Last year, the board was conservative and very sensitive to the needs of the community, and administration worked to bring in the levy at 0%, so no increase in the levy. We've continued to reduce over the past 3 years a little over $3 million in reductions to the budget. So to really sum it up, given all of those different things, as we move along in our budget process, it gets extremely difficult to continue to cut without affecting all the great programs that we've got in place here. We've got, when you look at our makeup, we're a service industry, and so most of our costs are obviously made up in personnel. And so with that, I will move into the overview of the budget and our current situation. We make a lot of different assumptions because that's what we have to work on. We have a proposed budget for the biennium, and again, I would use that word proposed. Will you see numbers change here? Absolutely. You're going to see swings in these numbers as we go through this process. Wouldn't be unlikely to see six-figure swings. Currently, if we use the proposed state budget that's out there right now, we're running approximately a $3,475,000 deficit. This assumes a 10% decrease in reduction for state aid, so about $2.5 million. Elimination of one of our newest grants, which is the Strive grant. Includes reductions in special education aid, transportation aid, and common school fund aid. This budget also includes the WRS, the proposed WRS savings. So having employees pay 50% into the Wisconsin retirement system, and that's a savings of about $1.2 million. So that budget deficit of 3.4 includes that savings of 1.2. We're a growing district, so we have, and our demographic study continues to project growth in the district over the long term. And so we have added some dollars for positions for student growth. This assumption also assumes that we have a 0% change in salaries and benefits and a 0% levy increase. So moving into that, again, the $3.4 million deficit, we have a potential to do some debt service restructuring, which would lower pressure on the debt service levy, and that's something we'll be working on in the next month or two. And then we've got our reallocations and our reductions, and currently those are $2,117,000. So that brings our remaining deficit down to about a $1.1 million. And that number can be handled through a number of different areas. There are some things that we're continuing to explore here, such as the bidding out of health insurance. We're looking at fee increases. That would be athletics, facility use, activities, all of the different fees that we charge. We'll be reviewing those fees. We're looking at potential changes to our other post-employment benefits trust, the trust that we fund. and we could look at using some fund balance use. But those are some of the things that we can use to attack that remaining budget deficit. And with that, I'll end my discussion and if you take any questions.
You know, the biennial budget that is proposed represents certainly a significant loss of state aid to public school districts and program aid as well. And Tim's identified how at this time we're estimating that it's affecting Hudson, and certainly very, very significantly and quite concerning to us as we plan forward for next year. Just a couple areas in program aid that are being cut as part of the proposal. One of them is an AP expansion. So we just heard tonight how Hudson our teachers have done a fantastic job supporting our students in the area of AP, and students and their families have been able to reduce costs as they look towards post-secondary and getting credit for their work at the high school through their success at AP, which we've been highly successful. Yet funds for expansion of AP programs are being cut in the budget. So that's one end. And then if you look at the other end, let's just take our STRIVE program. You've heard a report in the past about the effectiveness of our STRIVE program to support students to be successful who need a higher level of support, who are often challenged in our regular program. And they do a combination of our regular ed general courses with support. And that program has been highly effective. We received last year, starting this year, a 5-year grant from the state. And that was a 5-year grant for additional funding to expand that program to, I believe, 20 additional students, Corey? So 20 additional students who need that level of support to raise their level of success. And we hired additional staff, made changes in the program and so forth, and you took action at one of the previous board meetings to non-renew those additional staff in anticipation of this budget reduction at the state level, because that grant was a 5-year grant of $90,000 to start over a period of years, and we no longer have that grant. So a commitment that's no longer there, and certainly affecting Hudson students and the level of success and higher expectations that we have for all students. And so we're very challenged with the biennial budget. We understand the need to balance the budget at the state level, and that will impact us in the future very negatively if we keep on the path that we're on. But in these terms, we have to realize that they are affecting Hudson students, and I hope we don't get to the point where that effect is so significant that we have to curtail a lot of our efforts in the area of student learning.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Tim?
Madam President?
Mark.
Good. Thank you. Tim, and I don't really expect you to have these numbers since we've never really had the opportunity to bid out insurance, but do you have any kind of a ballpark number about what, what maybe we could realize as savings by going to the marketplace for health insurance? Just a big, wild guess number?
Well, Mark, we've put in about $750,000 in estimated savings in the reductions, and that I'd have to say until we get into the process of just going through that, I think our claims loss ratio has been favorable, so that helps. But it's really a shot in the dark to really define a number right now. But I think there's some comfort level with the amount that we've got in there right now.
Okay, so it's at 700,000.
Right, 750,000.
Okay, all right. Then it's just a comment. I'm sure this is obvious to everyone. I mean, obviously, if I certainly wouldn't be opposed to short-term use of fund balance to cover some kind of a shortfall, but it's not an answer, obviously, to a long-term deficit situation. So as far as that being part of the equation, it's not something that we could rely on from year to year to take care of a kind of a structural problem that we're going to be having going forward.
Okay, Brian.
Just a couple of questions here. Right, mic's not working.
So, gotta push it out there.
It's not working in either case. Not sure you want this recorded anyways. Any update on the budget itself? Thank you. Any update on the budget itself in terms of, because I know these are all estimates based on our finance committee meeting. Have you, since Monday, have you heard anything new?
Yeah, I don't have much new to report other than we are hearing that there could be a decision on the budget, moving that proposal through sometime in May. But again, even with that, DPI has to work through their system and the formula. So even though there may be a decision in May, we won't have final numbers until I'm guessing there'll be an estimate in July that DPI will come out with. Normally that's fairly close, but there aren't any new significant developments at this point.
And how about the budget repair bill? Any update on that? Have you heard?
What we're hearing is a budget repair bill. It's working its way through the courts. There is a date in May, I believe, to have, I don't know if it's legal briefs. We're also hearing that there's a possibility that bill could be attached to this biennial budget, and then it would go through as part of that budget process.
And then one other point, just the concern here is with the $1.1 million remaining deficit. The challenge here is, we're getting less money from the state, and we're just going to be sensitive to that. We just don't, try to make that up by raising, local property taxes, which we've been forced to in the school district for a few years now, as we're getting cuts from the state to look at, increasing local property taxes to cover that. And I think that's just something we have to be aware of.
Okay. Lynn.
Madam President, Tim, I was just wondering Mark brought it up, but on the bidding out of insurance, how would that play into how we establish our budget, or what's the timing of, if that were to be, a strategy that we're using as far as trying to balance the budget, how would that work out as far as timing goes?
Yeah, that's a good question. The process is a multi-month process, and we'd go into that. We'd probably be approaching the start of the school year. Definitely, the goal would be to have to know what our savings is and have a process complete by the time we get to October, where you certify the budget and the levy. But again, that's that multi-month process, and we're probably not going to know much before that.
Brian?
Just one follow-on question. Is WA Trust come back with a more competitive bid since this all surfaced?
We requested our claims data from them, and so they provided the claims data on a summary basis for us. We do expect that the premiums will be lower because of that, and once we request that premium or the claims data, we go out of the pool, and then we're rated on our own experience, own claims experience.
Did we ask for that claims data last year as well?
Last year we did not, and we knew we had a favorable increase coming through the pool, so we did not. But this year, to be able to get information that we need to put this out for a proposal, we've requested that data.
Okay.
Are there other questions? No. Okay, with Tim's overview of the upcoming year's budget, I think Mary's going to walk us through some proposed budget recommendations and reductions and reallocations.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a bleak budget picture as we move forward. And with the state aid and program funding cuts of more than $2.6 million, that's a significant mountain for us to climb. We have increased fixed costs in our budget in addition, and we have an expiration of some federal stimulus dollars. And with those things, our budget deficit, as Tim talked about, is over $3.4 million for this single coming year. We have reduced and reallocated to the tune of $3 million in the past. Tim talked about that. And so now it's necessary to dig even deeper into the diminishing resources that we have as a district. And also we lose budget flexibility, and budgets need to have a level of flexibility to move forward in a positive manner and be effective. So the district administrators, principals, and I met to prioritize areas to be considered by you for reallocation and reduction. These include both non-personnel areas and personnel areas. And we used the criteria that you've previously established when we made these decisions as part of this recommendation. So we look at this as it's important for us to maintain our priorities even at a time when we have to cut back, because we still are responsible for educating the students that we have in our district and continuing to raise our expectations for learning so that they are prepared for post-secondary when they leave us. So the criteria we've used and you've reinforced numerous times is to implement the district's strategic vision, HSD 2025, to continue efforts to improve the system for higher student achievement, and you've seen examples of that this evening. Maintain class size guidelines where applicable and possible. I would also extend that, and we considered the special ed guidelines and equity of staffing per student across the district. Realign staff and resources through reallocation, reorganization, and or reduction based on priorities and needs. And providing operations to support high quality and continuous improvement efforts. And add the cost of new staff for enrollment growth or HSD 2025 implementation only when reallocation of resources and staff position realignment is insufficient. And lastly, but very important, and one area that we will be using is to use staff attrition where possible when positions are reduced or eliminated. So with that, we will present to you our recommendation for the non-personnel areas for the board consideration. And we do regretfully recommend the personnel areas. You know, on this piece of paper that you will see in a few minutes or on the screen behind us, are positions that are identified, but they represent people who are valued employees in the Hudson School District. These are certainly the hardest decisions that we have to make as an administrative team. And those valued employees now serve our students and our staff and certainly our operations in the district. So with that, we'll move on to looking at our non-personnel recommendations, and each of the district administrators will help with this and briefly explain each area. I would suggest if you have a question about that area to stop us and address it at that time. So Tim, you'll start with the district-wide recommendations.
Right. The first item that we have on it is elimination of the CISA energy management contract. As you well remember, this has been a highly successful contract where we have garnered savings of over $300,000 in utility costs for about 3 years. What we hope to do is kind of bridge this current budget and continue to reap those savings. But as you can see there, by elimination of that contract, that's going to save around $40,000. And then, again, there's no guarantee that we'll be able to continue at the same level of savings because CISA does provide a number of services and works with our staff, all of our employees here. But again, it's a bridge. The second area is a reduction in legal fees. If the budget repair bill passes, we do feel we'll have less fees in that area. Just simply due to less time for negotiations. As I had mentioned before, we do have savings built in for bidding out health insurance and looking at health plan, the design of the plan, and just really putting it out to a competitive process. Reducing capital purchases, and this excludes technology, is about $50,000. So we're just simply not going to replace equipment, unless absolutely needed. We'll have a small budget, very small budget, but it will be a very small budget. Reducing facility capital improvements. These are large capital improvements, such as roofing. Now, we're not eliminating roofing. We're going to keep that in. But certainly, as we look at secure entrances and those types of things, this is a significant reduction for this line item of about 50%. Reducing all supply budgets. And that's a 15% reduction district-wide. That's about $150,000. If you recall from our last budget reduction exercise for last year, we cut about 12% out of those budgets. So again, cutting down, getting very low. Transfer of facility use fees. These are fees that outside groups pay to rent our facilities. We've normally accounted for those in the community service fund. We're proposing to move those fees over to the general fund, and that's going to help in our operation. We also have professional development, and that's just limiting travel to Wisconsin and the Twin Cities metro only.
For learning services, we would reduce $25,000 in resources. This is a broad range of anything from supplies to textbooks to other resources used for teachers to support their curriculum. And then the second item is that we do have a budget within instructional technology to support some purchases of smart boards throughout the district, and we would bring that, eliminate $20,000 of the $29,000 budget.
In student services, we're moving on down the list here. The first item there is reflecting bringing students back from out-of-district placements. These are students with severe either psychiatric needs or physical disabilities that require programming beyond Hudson. And we've built capacity to bring them back and support their learning here in Hudson. The next four items are basically a partial or a full reduction of those line items that totaling about $41,000, and that's those are dollars that have been spent on staff development and curriculum development tied back to compliance requirements and instructional practices, and with the intent of minimizing or avoiding even deeper personnel reductions.
The total for, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can we ask
Absolutely.
questions? Okay. Madam President, just a couple of questions I wanted to direct to Tim primarily. Tim, when it comes to reducing the facility capital improvements, I know we've always had a commitment of being on a maintenance plan with our facilities and making sure that we're on top of that, with the understanding that, if we shortchange it today, then it may cost us more in the future. So can you talk to, $300,000 worth of cuts in that area? I mean, is that going to compromise anything that as it relates to our maintenance plan?
I would say this is a short-term solution. It's a Band-Aid to get us through. We're like I mentioned before, we're keeping dollars in for roofing. We're keeping dollars in, for tuck pointing and those types of things to maintain. We don't want to get into a deferred maintenance type of situation where all of a sudden now we're, 5 to 10 years down the road asking for a large dollar increase to try to deal with those things. But there are things that we just aren't going to be able to do. The things that such as secured entrances and some of those things that we just won't have dollars to do. But again, it's really a short-term solution.
Okay. When we talk about bidding out health insurance, can you go into a little more detail about? Are we talking about apples for apples, or is that something that's not? I mean, what's the goal? Can we? Well,
it's a little bit too early to get into details. The number out there right now, that 750, is based on our claims experience, and we feel that that's attainable. We certainly would look at plan design. We'll look at a lot of different areas for it, but that's, again, those are details that we won't have until we move forward with this.
Okay. And then a couple items regarding the tech equipment and resources, materials. Sandy, are any of those areas where we could potentially get grant funding? It seems like at one point in time we got grant funding for smart boards.
I'm not aware of any grants available at the current time, but we
Okay.
surely would keep our eyes open for any opportunities, throughout the area for grants for any of our needs.
Okay, thank you.
Mark.
Thank you, Madam President. Dan just kind of brought something that I wanted to ask Tim about with regard to the secure entrances. How many do we have left to complete, Tim?
We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I believe we've got 4 left to complete, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, continue. Mary?
All right, the non-personnel estimated total is $1,611,000. Moving on to the more difficult page is our recommendations in the area of personnel. Nancy, will you start us off?
Yes,
these?
the first item is a reallocation or an outsourcing of the transportation specialist position to Safeway Bus Company. The transportation specialist position operates out of my office, the Human Resources office. This particular reduction has been considered actually for several years in a row, and was put in place many years ago when the district actually owned and operated some of its busing. And so that position goes back, 20, 30 years ago, actually. And then when the district made a decision to contract all of its student transportation, the position was kept in place. It is actually not common that a position like this exists when districts do not own and operate their own buses. At this particular time, Safeway is willing and they're capable of absorbing these duties at a reduced cost to the district. And so that is part of the proposal.
Okay, and then I'll take the next one. Next one is retirement/replacement of teachers. As you know, this number is subject to change, but this is merely looking at the differential in salary between a beginning teacher or maybe one that's placed a little bit higher on the salary schedule versus one of our retirement retirees. And again, that number probably will change. The second one is a reduction of 1.5 FTEs of custodial time, which amounts to about $50,000.
The next one with elementary media, this is more of a reallocation in that we would reduce the elementary media assistant time, but then in turn add a 0.84 media specialist at Holton, returning back to the model where we have a media specialist at each of our elementary buildings. The next one, reducing new teacher mentoring costs. We currently have an initial educator mentoring program whereby teachers receive stipends to serve in that capacity. This would reduce that quite a bit and return to a more simplified, kind of more of a buddy system and replace it with that kind of mentoring program.
The next item is also, if you see the two together, more of a reallocation. This would include following our caseload guidelines approved by the board last year, referenced earlier, and this would reduce 28 hours of special ed EA time to offset an addition that's needed at the middle school due to enrollment and transitioning of students up to the middle school. So that would cover a teacher and an EA addition at the middle. The next item is a reduction of ESL, or English as a Second Language EA time, based on again, caseload numbers across the district. And both of those items to this point are intended to maintain or retain the certified teacher expertise that we have, even though it's a difficult decision. The next item is, again, a savings due to caseload and workload requirements. This would be a reduction of our vision impaired teacher, and then contracting with the CISA to provide those services based on our caseload and workload numbers. So we would see significant savings with that item. And then the next item, lastly, in student services is the reduction of a high school counselor. And that's basically based on student-to-counselor ratios as we look across the district by level. Even with a 1.0 reduction, we would still see the best counselor-student ratios at the high school. It's still better than the middle school and elementary levels.
The first one in elementary is in regard to our math and reading assistants. We'd reduce their days from 182 currently to 176 days.
Mm-hmm. And the next item under elementary is to reduce a net 3 classroom teachers. This is completely enrollment-driven, class-side guidelines driven, and is partly a result of a smaller kindergarten registration for next year than we had this year, which was remarkably high this year. It also results from the movement of primary level students to the intermediate level where the class size guidelines are higher. So we do have, throughout our elementary system, we are anticipating adding in one grade level, reducing in another, and doing that across the district, and it does result in a net decrease of 3 classroom teachers. This decrease can be covered through attrition, through retirements, through resignations, and through non-renewals. There are no layoffs associated with this proposal.
Okay, the next item is at the middle school, and it's a reduction of 1 in-school suspension support staff. The middle school will be restructuring to cover that position. Sandy?
At the high school level, Ms. Sweet and I work closely with the secondary administration, monitoring course registrations and sections. Based on current enrollments, there is a need then to add at the high school a science teacher and reduce then 0.4 German teacher and 0.4 business ed teacher.
The next item, reducing alternative night school, is not an elimination, just a reduction. Still leaves some funds in there to support this program, but it represents, those dollars represent additional pay for staff, supplies, and materials, and so forth for the program, for instruction for students who may have not been successful in the traditional day program or need additional support if their needs are not being met. So it's a reduction in that category.
The next item, again under the high school, is a reduction in 1 secretarial level 3 support. This position works in the computer lab and does general teacher support, clerical support. And after that, we've got a reduction of 1 of our 3 campus monitors. Campus monitors do monitor student activities inside the building and on the grounds.
The total for the personnel recommended reductions are $506,000. So the total that you saw on the page previously for the budget that Tim presented is a little over $2 million. And the board is expected then to take action on next Tuesday, April 19th at 6 o'clock at Rivercrest again on these recommendations. So we'll be bringing them back to you at that time for your action. And what we need to know at this point, if you have any questions, certainly, and any additional information you might need to make that decision next week.
Are there any other questions for Mary or Tim? Dan.
Madam President, with some of these items, especially the non-personnel, I want to pick out insurance because that's sort of a big target. If, for example, we were to achieve greater savings than what we're anticipating, do we know where those savings would then end up? I mean, how would you then decide, where to place those dollars?
Well, I think the toughest part of that line item, Dan, is that again we're looking at being able to have a definite number some point after the start of the school year, prior to certification of the levy and the budget. Certainly, adjustments could be made after that, but again, that number we don't have a firm number on that.
Okay, just one comment on that. The challenge, though, Dan, is that we still have a $1.1 million deficit. So we need to get more savings than $750,000 from insurance, right? Because we still have $1.1 million we're trying to find, and we've made a conscious effort that these cuts are hard enough. We have to find another way to make this budget work. So that was kind of just a comment I want to make on it.
Okay. I just want to just add to that, Brian, that those are some of the things. If you look at those other options we had at the bottom of the budget deficit sheet, certainly health insurance is on there. The fee increases, other post-employment benefits, and fund balance. So those are all of those things we'll be continuing to explore. Yeah.
I just had one comment, maybe a couple. First of all, I wanted to thank the administration for the time that's gone into this work. I know this is an incredible feat to bring these kinds of recommendations to the board. But in looking through the list, one of the things that I'm personally concerned about is we're making very difficult choices. We will be asked to make very difficult decisions next Tuesday when this comes back in our board meeting, and many of these items, not all of them, but many of them feel like short-term decisions against what perhaps might be a long-term systemic change in how our funding comes to us as a district. And so thinking about the question you asked, Dan, about the facilities reduction, one of the things we're going to have to wrestle with over the next few years as a board is how do we do this with the administration, build a budget that is consistent with perhaps what may be systemic and permanent changes in state funding sources for us. So, but thank you.
Just one last comment. I wanted to, I know we have a number of staff members out in our audience, and we are sending this list but through email to our staff this evening so that all staff will have access to it.
All right. We are in the topics for action section of our agenda, and the first item under that section, we will move to item B, the St. Croix Valley Educational Collaborative. Mary.
Tonight you heard about two successful partnerships we have had for a period of time, JA, which is a long extended partnership, and a newer partnership, Wisconsin Credit Union. And this is another partnership that we're establishing with the School District of River Falls, Chippewa Valley Technical College, the Wisconsin India Technical College, and the University of Wisconsin River Falls. This is a collaborative partnership that is designed to promote innovation and take action together to provide more seamless opportunities for educational attainment and career preparation for students in middle school through high school through post-secondary options, as well as our community as a whole. So even after students are out of high school, after they're out of post-secondary, the opportunities to be able to come back and to advance their educational experiences. And so this is really looking at building bridges to the future, and it's a commitment to work together to provide access to high-quality education that's effective, efficient, and responsive to the needs of our students and the greater St. Croix Valley. You'd see on the initial focus areas, Diane, you want to move to that? There are 4 areas that we're starting out to work together on. One is the UW River Falls Learning Center at Hudson. We're very fortunate that the university has created a location in Hudson, and this provides more accessibility certainly for our students who are in youth options. We have a work team that is working with the university on what kind of courses are most advantageous for our students, that they have the highest interest in, and so how can we provide them at a time that is accessible in their coursework at the high school in a more fluid path. And so we have an example of that that's not for students but is for staff that's been established, and this is a Hudson School District graduate cohort program for our teachers, and I believe there's 22 teachers in this program. Peg Shoemaker is one of the facilitators of that program along with a UW River Falls professor, and it's customized to the Hudson best practices. So it's customized to our HSD 2025 strategic vision, and it is really helping these teachers to reflect on their practices and be able to bring those specific learnings back to their own classrooms in Hudson. So we have a team, and we have some representatives from our district on that team. Wendy Langer and John Dornfeld are participating on that work group. The second area of focus is career pathways to success, and this is really looking at some areas that Melissa Hansen and Sandy Kovach brought forward to us. Was it last meeting, Sandy, or the meeting before that? Looking at how students can start moving through an area of study, go back out to the workforce, come back in and advance that study, and maybe get a certificate or a degree during that process. So this is looking at what career paths can we develop that are accessible to students, accessible to our community members, and working on those together. So education is more seamless all the way through K-12 and then through post-secondary. And it's not one system and then you move into another system. It's making it much more seamless between our systems. And then the work group representatives from the Hudson School District on that are Sandy Kovach and Melissa Hansen. Academic advising and assessment. This is something that we have going in many areas. You heard about it in JA. It wasn't academic advising, but it was looking at careers and making decisions about those careers and having experiences in those careers. Our ASCA model and counseling advances that as well. And this would expand on that and bring more visibility of the technical colleges and the university system into our schools to help students and parents make choices and be more prepared to make those choices that will help inform them to select courses and to look at academic programs in the future to provide that career exploration and participation. On that team, from the Hudson School District is Corey McIntyre and Elizabeth Smith. And the last one is enhancing economic development. And we know that education is one of the primary drivers of economic development in our community. And this team is going to look at market research and invest in additional research, which would have some level of cost to us, but we would be splitting it among the partners to decide what areas should we focus on for expansion, what careers are needed in our community. So what kind of preparation for those careers for the future should be advanced, and that would connect with the other areas, the 1, 2, 3 areas, to inform them. You know, if we were doing this ourselves, there would be a cost to the district that would be higher. And doing it with these partners and using their expertise as well, it will actually be of lower cost to us and we will be able to benefit. There is a signing event for this collaborative on Monday, April 25th at noon at the UW River Falls Hudson Center, and we hope that some of you will be able to join us and that you will approve our participation in this educational collaborative.
Okay, before we make a motion, are there any questions for Mary on this St. Croix Valley Educational Collaborative? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay, there's a motion by Brian, second by Dan. All those in favor of our participation in the St. Croix Valley Educational Cooperative, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Just checking to make sure you're paying attention. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Teacher Employee Handbook, Retirement Benefits for Teachers Eligible by June 30, 2016. Nancy, it looks like you're going to lead us through that discussion.
Right. This is a provision included in your board material intended to be part of the employee handbook as of July 1st, 2011. A few weeks ago, actually, the board mutually agreed with the teachers union to extend the retirement application deadline, and at about that same time, the budget repair bill issue emerged, and as Tim spoke earlier, it's still pending implementation. Another factor, the possible expiration of the teacher collective bargaining agreement, left teachers eligible for retirement now, but wanting to teach longer, and those not yet eligible, but eligible within the next 5 years, uncertain of their futures and with very little time, if any, to adjust. That's the rationale for the proposal to move ahead with board adoption of this particular provision of the handbook. The content of this recommendation is essentially the same as the benefits now available through the teachers' collective bargaining agreement, with the exception of the age of eligibility. This proposal moves that age from 55 to 57. I actually have tonight 2 lists. I've got a list of retirement applications from those teachers who are certain of their decision, and I have another list of teachers who will withdraw their applications for retirement pending the board's approval of this provision of the handbook, and they're trusting that you would maintain that commitment to them. On your table, attached to the modified agenda, is a proposed motion, and the administration is recommending that you adopt the proposed handbook provision titled Retirement Benefits for Teachers Eligible to Retire Before July 1, 2016, and to provide an assurance to all eligible teachers that the board will not modify this particular handbook provision before July 1, 2013, unless required to do so by law. The board, with the motion, though, would retain the right to modify this handbook provision after June 30th, 2013, but of course the long-term interest is in the preservation of this provision through 2016.
Are there questions for Nancy?
Madam President, I have a quick question. Nancy, if the law did change, how would that impact teachers that could retire now, wanted to wait and hold out? Where would that put them in this process?
Well, if the law were to change after you adopted this particular provision, right. Well, you know, I can only speculate. I mean, I don't know how much further the law could go, but if it went so far as to prohibit boards of education from providing retirement benefits to teachers, you know, that could change this provision in the handbook or any collective bargaining agreement that might be endorsed, prior to the budget repair bill.
Okay.
But it's just speculation. But to put that clause in there is a protection for the board. Of course, you have to follow the law.
Are there other, Brian?
Yeah. Sorry. A couple of questions. So why does the proposed motion have, will not modify this handbook before unless required to do so by law? Why are you suggesting that we do that until July 1st, 2013?
The reason for that is an accommodation for those that are eligible now, age 55, who are interested in teaching for a couple more years at least, and with the assurance that this wouldn't be modified for the next 2 years, they would reach age eligibility.
Okay, and then what's the legal grounds? We have a current contract negotiated through collective bargaining, which is still in force. So I still struggle with the capability for us to take something out that's in a collective bargaining agreement and take it out and vote on it as a board unilaterally.
Well, we're advised legally that you would have that authority because this would not be in effect until July 1st, 2011. The current agreement is in force until June 30th, 2011. And in the material, under the subsection titled Application, it does say in the event this handbook provision conflicts with a provision of the teacher's collective bargaining agreement that is in effect after June 30th, 2011, the collective bargaining agreement will control. So, yeah, that's kind of my point is that we can vote on this tonight, but right now we're under collective bargaining, and that's part of the collective bargaining contract. So we can vote on something, and my concern is what happens if collective bargaining this changes. Let's say that we do collective bargain this next year, and it changes. Are we providing false assurances to these teachers that, because we're saying that won't modify this unless the law changes? What happens if it gets modified in collective bargaining? I would think if we were to continue negotiations and effect something prior to the implementation of the budget repair bill, it's unlikely that the teachers would be interested in revising this particular provision of their current collective bargaining agreement. And again, this proposal is essentially the same. The benefits are the same as what's in the agreement. They, of course, are interested in the age being less than 57. So if we were to be involved in negotiations, they certainly would not, I think, would not want to bargain this away and would probably want to bargain it down to the lesser age.
And there kind of lies my challenge, is that we're using a lot of words that we think this is what they would want to do. We're under collective bargaining. This is a collective bargain portion. This is collective bargain with the union. And for us to make some unilateral vote that may make some people feel more comfortable with the future, right now it's not even in effect because the controlling document is the collective bargaining agreement.
Could I just jump in and just to help you out a little bit, Brian? I don't know, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but clearly, if there be a new collective bargaining agreement, I strongly suspect it would trump anything in our handbook. What I view this is trying to be sort of a good faith demonstration by the board for those teachers in that really close transition period of retirement. The age is going up. We've made some provisions. It's probably not making everybody happy, but I think it's trying to extend a little bit of clarity, and so they can kind of see what the end game is.
I understand.
Right now, collective bargaining, it's probably going to be dead, right? So what you're worried about is a new collective bargaining agreement. I think is probably probably an unlikely scenario at this time.
Okay, so, I'm going to move on. One more comment. Was this not in, we had a proposal back to the union that included this, which was turned down. Is that a true statement? That this language is in the handbook This was part of the district's initial proposal to the teachers, which the teachers did not approve. Which they did not approve. Right, and of course there was more than this in that proposal. So it seems like this is very important, and so my concern is why wasn't our proposal accepted if this is such an important part of it? And we don't know the answer to that. So, okay, no more comments.
Anyone else have a question or a comment? Mary?
Just a comment on to Brian. You know, certainly, Brian, you're pointing out what a unique time this is. And we have employees right now who are making life decisions about retirement for this coming year. And Nancy's talked about the two lists that she has. And this does help those employees, or some of them, decide how they should respond by the assurances that it provides. And so I think that's why we have brought it forward for the board's consideration.
With no more questions, I would entertain a motion on this action.
Madam President, I move to adopt the proposed handbook provision titled Retirement Benefits for Teachers Eligible to Retire Before July 1st, 2016, and to provide an assurance to all eligible teachers that the board will not modify this particular handbook provision before July 1st, 2013, unless required to do so by law. Pursuant to my motion, the board would retain the right to modify this handbook provision after June 30th, 2013.
All right, there is a motion by Lynn. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Pat. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the policy and procedure revisions. Sandy.
Yes, we have three policy adjustments we're bringing before the board this evening. And Diane, when you get there, if you'd go to the second page of policy 5113 that shows the changes. Principal Laura Love brought a proposal to both the administration and learning and program development, which in essence was reviewed and supported by both groups, which raises the bar for students during their final semester of school. And you can see in the proposed language changes that it would require 90% attendance in order to participate in the graduation ceremony. Therefore, again, like I said, raise that bar for students and making graduation, the ceremony, truly means something a little more important to students. The next policy, 5127, reflects the changes that were recommended by Principal Love this evening and would replace freshman year initiative with advisory, beginning with the graduation class of 2015. And then the final policy, 5127.2, aligns the language from the attendance policy with presentation of diplomas. And again, you can see the similar language. Only senior students who attend classes a minimum of 90% of their scheduled time during the final semester will be allowed the privilege of participating in the graduation ceremony. And Laura, at our meeting at Learning Program, really stressed that graduation ceremony is a privilege, and she wants to make sure that students really value that opportunity. And you can also see then that those who do not attend can pick up their diploma at the high school, but that the ceremony would be reserved for those who do attend at a higher level during that final semester.
Are there any questions for Sandy on the policy revisions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Madam President, I move the approval of the policy and procedure revisions.
There is a motion by Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next topic for action is non-union employee stipends through June 30, 2011. Nancy?
I'll introduce this, and perhaps Tim will have some other comments. You do have a motion, again, attached to your revised agenda in front of you. The recommendation for the administration, from the administration, would affect the non-bargaining groups, and I'll identify them for you. Our psychologist, counselor, social worker, bus aides, campus monitor, the secretarial and secretarial assistant employees, crossing guards, educational interpreter, intervener, mail delivery, noon duty aides, occupational therapists, therapy assistants, rather, physical therapist, school-age care workers, our IT technicians, our tutor coordinator, and van driver. Those particular employees are not represented by the union. They do not have contracts. This, again, is a response to the budget repair bill, which would treat our union groups differently than our non-union groups, our hourly wage employees. And this proposal would treat them similarly. What we are recommending is that in recognition of the fact that the district is contractually obligated to continue paying the WRS employee contribution for many union employees until June 30th, 2011, we are recommending that you approve a one-time stipend to these non-union employees for whom the district currently pays the WRS employee contribution. And because the purpose is to treat non-union employees the same as union employees, the stipend for an eligible non-union employee would be in an amount equal to the cost of the WRS employee contribution, up to 6%. From the date the budget repair bill goes into effect, whenever that is, until June 30th, 2011. And that stipend would be paid actually on June 30th, 2011, and would only be available to these employees who continue to be employed by the district in good standing by the district on June 30th, 2011. And Tim would indicate that this is already a budgeted amount.
Right. The amount's already been budgeted for prior to any budget repair bill enactment.
Other questions for Nancy?
Madam President?
Brian?
So does this set precedent for after June 30th, 2011? Are we setting a precedent that now we have to continue to deliver on?
Well, actually, the budget repair bill would prohibit the district from contributing the employees' share of WRS after June 30th, 2011.
It doesn't prohibit us from paying a stipend.
If I can interject here. Mm-hmm. The purpose of this recommendation is not to create a precedent that continues on. It is just to take our non-union employees and treat them in this instance as the union employees would be treated under the budget repair bill.
I just want to ask a clarifying question. Not having been involved in this conversation before, by way of example, so Nancy, if the budget repair bill were enacted, let's say on the 15th of June of this year, what this recommendation says is for that last 15 days of June of this year, our non-collective bargaining unit employees would be paid an equivalent amount to their employee portion of the WRS payment to basically equalize with the amount that the district would pay on behalf of the collective bargaining groups because their contracts extend through June 30th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I just want to reiterate, it's at no additional cost to the district. This has already been budgeted in the current budget.
Are there other questions?
I have a comment on that previous statement. It's a budgeted expense, Mary, but it's not it's still additional cost.
What, yes?
Pat?
It's an additional cost because you said it's a budgeted, it would become it would be a savings, I guess, for us.
Right.
If the bill comes into effect, right? So right now, without a written contract that the union has, an oral contract had been given to these employees that we would pay this until June 30th. Is that correct?
These particular employees have what's called a terms and conditions of employment, and it does have written into those documents the district's obligation to pay the employees the employee contribution. So there is a written document associated with their employment. It just doesn't have the force of a collective bargaining agreement under the budget repair bill.
Okay.
Any final questions? No.
I guess just
Mark?
a comment, Madam President, if I might. The budget repair bill, I guess, if it is implemented, it's just going to create some winners and losers with respect to this WRS contribution. This is just a district effort to balance out so that the non-union and union staff are going to be treated the same,
Thank you.
essentially.
All right. Is there a motion? And Nancy has provided some language for us.
Oh, gosh. Madam President, I would move in recognition of the fact that the district is contractually obligated to continue paying the WRS employee contribution for many union employees until June 30th, 2011. I move to approve the payment of a one-time stipend to non-union employees for whom the district currently pays the WRS employee contribution. Because the purpose of this motion is to treat non-union employees the same as union employees, the stipend for an eligible non-union employee would be in an amount equal to the cost of the WRS employee contribution, up to 6%. For that employee from the date the budget repair bill goes into effect until June 30th, 2011. Pursuant to my motion, the stipend will be paid on June 30th, 2011, and will be available only to employees who continue to be employed in good standing by the district on June 30th, 2011.
Second.
Motion by Mark, second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. We are on to the 2011-12 administrative reassignments. Mary.
Over a year ago, Learning Services Associate Director Peg Shoemaker expressed individually to me that she would eventually like to return to a principal position because she missed interacting directly with students and developing a community for learning with staff. Earlier this year, I also had a conversation with Dave Grambo, and he was talking about his professional goals for the future. And he indicated that sometime in the future, he would like to have a district-wide, a pre-K through 12 role focused on teaching and learning. At the time of these conversations, neither administrator knew anything about the other person's interest. And so I saw a unique opportunity for us to serve both the district's needs and interests and the professional goals of each of these administrators who have served the district well for many years. So since Peg is interested in an elementary principal position, or a principal position, I should say, I'm recommending to you that she be reassigned to the position of Willow River principal starting July 1 with the same salary as the current elementary principals. And I'm recommending as well that Dave Grambo be reassigned to the position of Learning Services Associate Director starting July 1 with the same salary as the current Learning Services Associate Director. Peg Shoemaker joined the district in 1992 as a special education teacher at North Hudson Elementary. And 5 years later, she became a 4th grade teacher at Willow River that we're talking about right now for her to become principal of next year. Her administrative career then began when she moved to Holton Elementary, and then she took on her position as Learning Services Associate Director in 2007. She's been a principal coach at both elementary and secondary levels during her time as Associate Director, and she's been instrumental in the development of our elementary literacy program, along with district-wide teacher collaboration time. The success of our elementary initiative, as you know, has been recognized at the state level, and Peg had a big part in that, in helping to lead that team. And she's been an exemplary employee for us. We have benefited from her time in the district, as many students have, and staff as well. Her commitment to high-quality professional development and evidence-based best practices has served us well. So this will be an easy transition for Peg to return to the role of an elementary principal. Dave Grambo has been in the district for 16 years, and he began his career at EP Rock Elementary teaching 3rd and 5th grades, and he also spent a year teaching special education. In 2007, he became Willow River Elementary principal, and he's provided a significant amount of leadership over that time, both as a teacher leader and as administrative leader, in implementing district initiatives that were designed to improve student learning. Things like everyday math, responsive classroom, technology, literacy, data for decision making, and teacher collaboration time are just a few. Dave is currently completing coursework that he will finish this spring for his curriculum and instruction license. You know, we're very fortunate to have such a win-win opportunity here to retain both of these highly talented administrators in new roles that serve both district interests and meet their individual professional goals. So I recommend these 2 reassignments for starting with the 2011-12 school year.
All right. Are there questions for Mary or any comments? No. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the reassignments.
I'll second.
Motion by Lynn, second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, I just would like to thank both Peg and Dave for their service. At this point, we look forward to your new roles in the coming year.
Congratulations to both of you. All right. We are going to take one more topic for action. This would be the approval of the March 1, 2011 regular and closed session minutes. Mr. Chernohoy was kind enough to remove this in his amended agenda motion. And I would entertain a motion to approve an amended version of those minutes. Paragraph 5A should be amended to read, school was closed on Friday, February 18th, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Brian, second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we are on to the consent agenda items. If someone would make a motion to approve the consent agenda items along with the language for financial disbursements.
Madam President, move that we approve the consent items, including the expenditures, that the Director of Financial Services be authorized to pay bills in the amount of $2,463,147.54.
Motion by Brian. Second by Lynn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda items are passed.
And
Nancy would like to recognize, as part of the action that we just took, we approved some retirements, and Nancy would like to recognize those staff members.
Yes, you approved 7 retiring teacher applications, one of which is Dwayne Johnson, technology teacher, specifically auto mechanics at the high school, 15 years. You also approved Terry Hutton's retirement, reading teacher, EP Rock, 19 years. Pauline Staberg, first grade at Rivercrest, 21 years. Let's see, where am I here? The Joan Kill, art teacher, now at Rivercrest, 30 years. Ron Forehand, science teacher at the middle school, 32 years. Vicki Anderson, one of our literacy coaches, 32 years. And Marae Coleman, gifted and talented teacher, located now at Hudson Prairie, 38 years. So, lots of years of service to our students, and just wanted to mention their names and the number of years of their service. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy, and congratulations to each of those, and I'll turn it over to Mary for just a moment.
I just would like to thank the board for approving the retirement language you approved. Otherwise, this list would have been longer, and we'll be able to benefit from some teachers staying in their classroom and serving our students for into the future. These educators have certainly had a long commitment to our students and to the Hudson School District, and we've been very blessed.
Okay. Before we move into the committee report section of the agenda, I did want to let the individuals that are still here at the board meeting know that if there are any of you that wish to speak on the topic for action, which is item 13 on the agenda, we will do that before the board goes into closed session. So for anyone that may want to address that particular topic for action, you will want to get the form from Diane Radel and make sure that we have that so that you can address the board again before we go into closed session. And with that, we're going to move into committee reports. The first on the list is the Finance Committee. Brian Bell.
Thanks. Finance Committee met on last Monday, the 4th. We covered debt service restructuring. We're going to go back at that one more time to see how much dollars we can kind of recoup through taking advantage of some interest rates and put that money back into our operating budget. So we'll take another look at that still. We talked about the teacher's employee handbook that we just took action on and the preliminary budget. And then we adjourned to closed session to talk about employment and compensation of specific employees and the potential sale or purchasing of property.
Questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian. The next committee is Learning and Program Development, which also met last week. We had a number of items on the agenda, many of which you've heard about already or taken action on. We reviewed the policy changes that the board took action on tonight. We heard from Principal Love on both the High School Learning for the Future update as well as the high school collaboration, both of which she shared with us this evening. Sandy shared with us some preliminary WKCE results, and when the detailed information is available, I think Sandy will share that with us in the next few months. We also got an update on the St. Croix Valley Educational Collaborative, which again the board took action on this evening. We too reviewed the 2011-12 preliminary budget and also adjourned to closed session to consider employment promotion and compensation for specific employees. Questions on learning and program development? All right. And finally, the Personnel Committee. Mark.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Personnel Committee met last week, and we also had the budget update, 2011-12 budget update from Tim Erickson, and the discussion of the non-personnel reallocation, reduction, additions. And just as an aside, as Barb did, want to compliment the administration on being able to find so many non-personnel areas where we can make some reductions. It is difficult when the vast majority of our budget is personnel, and obviously we want to try to minimize it to the extent that we can, because that affects the classroom so directly. So hats off to them for finding what they could in that area. Excuse me. We then did adjourn to closed session. We had issue dealing with the consideration of employment of specific employees. Reconvened to open session where we discussed the teacher employee handbook and the Personnel Committee approved the retirement benefits for the teachers that the full board here just previously addressed, and did some preliminary planning for the superintendent's evaluation, and lastly had an additional closed session to consider a discipline of specific employees, promotion, compensation of specific employees, and that was it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So now we are at the citizens' request to speak section of our agenda. Are there any, Diane? Can't see you. No, there are none. All right, then we will be moving to adjourning to a closed session. We will reconvene to open session, returning to this room for our final topic for action, discipline of employees. If there is a board member who would read the language for adjourning to closed session, just as a reminder, Mary did adjust and remove the paragraph 19.85, parent 1, parent C has been removed.
Madam President, I move to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent B, and F to consider discipline of specific employees. No evidentiary hearing. 19.85, Parent 1, Parent B, and E to discuss negotiation strategy regarding all WCEA union groups. And 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E to consider the purchase of public property.
There is a motion by Lynn. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Pat. We will take a roll call vote.
Robson, aye.
Bell, aye.
Trudeau, aye.
Van Loon and I.
Chairman, aye.
Kaiser shot aye.
We are adjourned to closed session. We will reconvene to this room.